he shared, because at the committee level we are bipartisan, and so I'm not coming to challenge any of the things he said. I largely agree. In fact, last year when we were debating the ministry's budget, I rose on the floor and said that government was not interested in funding the works of the ministry. They should scrap the ministry, because it makes no sense to pretend that you were funding the ministry, because last year they actually got less than 1 million Ghana cedis, the whole ministry, for their actual work, like for the goods and services portion of what they had to do, minus salaries. How do you expect them to finance what they're doing? And the work they do carries on with you. But for me, I just wanted to find out from the minister if he considers the select committee, not parliament, the select committee as a stakeholder. Because I hear a lot, because there's one thing bringing a bill to parliament, which then gets referred to us, but then that's Mr. Speaker's referral. At that point in time, we're not sitting as your partners, we're sitting as Mr. Speaker's committee to oversight you. But in the work you're doing, I'm hearing the National Action Plan, I'm hearing stakeholder engagement, you sent a draft to 21 people, nothing has come to the committee, the select committee. And so if the select committee is not engaged, as a move into an election year, misinformation and disinformation pose the greatest threat to Ghana's democracy, especially in the age of artificial intelligence and all the kinds of things that are being generated using AI tools. Now, our democracy needs to be managed using these regulations and legislations, even whilst you respect the fundamental freedoms of expression. However, those freedoms are not absolute. And so we need to find how to craft legislation that treads the fine lines of freedoms in a responsible manner that protects the democracy. Because if there is no democracy, those freedoms you talk about don't even exist at all. And so we need to look at how these tools we're looking at can come by way of, it's one thing to have a plan, it's another thing to have a legislation. Because in most of the other jurisdictions, they have freedoms as well, but they have legislation that frames all of this. So let's look more at legislation. Then I saw that, and because I may not speak again, on the RTI, I saw talk about the supply side, the demand side, and implementation. On the supply side, I'm wondering what work you've done relative to PRAD, the Public Records Archiving and Archiving Administrative Department, or whatever division. I don't know if it's the Department of Division department. Because you see, when we're talking about the RTI Act, I kept making the point to the media that the RTI Act was basically a search engine, but PRAD was actually the archive that was going to be searched. Because it's one thing asking me or asking a ministry or government agency for information in the last 2-3 years, which may still be sitting at the ministry. Is another thing if I really want to do proper research and go back 20 years or 10 years, and that's moved to PRAD. And PRAD has not been resourced to have proper digital archiving of the material. So then the responses you begin to receive are that there is no access to the information because PRAD. So I wanted to find out what is happening relative to the archiving of our public records. And again, even with archiving of our public records, because the RTI makes exemptions based on national security and other considerations, what is the classification mechanism that we have agreed on for declassification of material? 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, 50 years. What can be classified and for how long can it be classified? We need to have this. And the last point is, I saw that, I think in the last slide, they said legislation is one of the challenges. When Mauli said legislation is one of the challenges, I nearly stood up and raised my hand to ask, but Minister, where are your friends? Even the opposition on the committee has a fantastic working relationship with the Minister for Information. And so I'm unaware of anything that has come to Parliament from the ministry that has not enjoyed bipartisan support. So when you say legislation is a challenge, if I want clarity, because I don't want anybody to leave here thinking that some judge is the problem, or the NDC or the opposition in Parliament is the problem. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Please like,